Spartan. Crumbs is in the jungle. Shifter in that mid lane with I'm a Cutie Pie at 80 carry. And Kiwi Bowl on support.
Yeah, and then against them is the Evil Geniuses on the red side. Inox in the top lane, Helios in the jungle, Pobelter in mid, Altec on 80 carry, and Crepo on support.
You know, talking a little bit about Helios lately, he's been quite unique in his picks, brought out a little bit of the new that we also saw from LMQ, and that style of play has kind of catapulted CLG a bit. There's a new revitalized feeling to that team a bit.
Yeah, this EG team, as far as feeling revitalized, is great, but they're very clearly, at least perception-wise, well improved and above the bottom three teams.
Yep.
Yet, the question will be, all right, but who can they beat? Can they beat Dignitas, TSM, LMQ, CLG, Cloud9? Maybe. They still feel weaker than those teams. So in order for these changes to add up into success, like Altec being an 80 carry, he's had some great games. Helios has had some amazing early game pressure. But it has to transition into victories, otherwise it's not necessarily worth anything.
And EG is a team that is somewhat good from playing from behind. They can do what they can to keep themselves in the game. If Altec starts getting those fight kills, like we said, then it takes off. It kind of needs that Helios in the beginning, and they've been getting it. That really helps for them.
Yeah, Helios is known for as soon as they get one gang, he's just like, all right, easy game, we win.
Here we go.
Not always the case.
I like that. Talking to Crepo at one point, he talks... Helios speaks in absolutes, just very set in his ways, and that's the way it's going to happen. But things have been working out, and obviously some things don't. We'll see if it works out this time with the Cassidy and Kale band coming out easily from the side of Evil Geniuses. A Twisted Fate and an Eve here is a little bit more mid-focus is hit.
Yeah, definitely the game where we're going to be seeing Kale banned away. We had a real abnormality in our first game with Kale not being picked or banned. This is more like it. For the 4.10 patch at least. Next week in the LCS will be on the 4.11 patch with the nerfed Kale. Have to reevaluate whether or not she remains banned. Nunu
does get banned out. A little too much of a composition style that Dignitas doesn't want to deal with, getting dove all over the place and having their jungle controlled. Something Helios loves to do. He'll even die for that first blood if he has to. Going headstrong into the turret. Ziggs gets taken out. Shifter is actually hit pretty decently with those few picks in the mid lane, but he still has quite a bit to have fun with. I've seen him on the Orianna lately. His Syndra as well. Not too shabby.
Yeah, his Ziggs numbers are just so insanely impressive. He actually hasn't died on Ziggs. No. So it's a pretty good ban. 9 deaths altogether.
Yeah. The least across North America and Europe. Like Zyrene said earlier, Helios already has accrued more deaths there at 12. And the Inox gets a Gragas. Gragas for himself.
Top lane Gragas. The continual top lane pick of teams on the losing side. It just seems to be this trend that has happened. It's only been a couple of Gragas victories in competitive play, but he is all over the place in solo queue and in the minds of top laners because of how well he lanes and the things he can do in the mid game, being a really great tanky utility damage dealer that just do everything from the top lane. And of course the Kog'Maw will be a standard staple this week.
With all those mid picks, or rather I should say bans, the Lee Sin gets through. So Comes will be making an impact out of the jungle on this, but will it be to that top lane? Will it be to the Kog'Maw, which we've seen carry a few games in a row now and be able to take that late game into his own favor as the carry king? Very quick picks from EG and kind of slowed down, but the Syndra gets locked in again for Shifter. That last play, 9, 1, and 3.
He is a great Syndra, something with a very long engagement range. Ooh. EG is just going full late game here.
Boom.
With the Rise and the Kog'Maw.
Yeah, not even a thought in the lock-in again.
It's a pretty tricky lane for Pobelter to navigate, though. Might have to go Catalyst first against Syndra at risk of getting bursted down. Or they could pull a fast one on us, put Gragas mid lane, Rise top lane, and have the tankier guy there to sustain the Syndra burst. Could actually happen. Inox does play a lot of champions.
This is also interesting because that might be Zion Spartans. Just thinking about it.
Zion Spartan might have to, yeah, he might be playing that Lee Sin.
Yeah.
Right? Especially since they haven't locked in the Elise yet. They could do the old trickery. They decide against.
Not tricking. They do get the Jax though, something that Zion Spartan can be his own army with on the other side of the map. He loves to do that. And like Scar was saying, I kind of give credit to that as well, knowing when to use your TPs. I think Zion has a good control over that, knowing when to be somewhere, when to not.
by far the most feared Jax.
Yeah.
In the jungle Gragas, by the way, or what the heck are they doing? Yeah, it's a jungle Gragas, actually, with her Renekton top lane.
Leave it up to Helios.
Absolutely. So, I mean, jungle Gragas is something we saw a little bit of a while ago.
Right.
But we have not seen it since really the big Gragas changes. This will put a little curveball in the game.
Each one of his lanes kind of brings that long-range stun up. I mean, you can slice and then W with the Renekton, but everybody, if you slow him with that barrel, you got good potential coming in for the ganks. The ults don't necessarily not synergize with the Gragas ultimate because you're just locking people up, so pretty sweet composition coming in for EG. I like it.
Renekton, it's like they baited out the Jax pick at the last second.
Right.
They're like, all right, we can play Jax against Gragas potentially.
Bam.
Whoop. Renekton, really good in lane against Jax.
The mind games. It starts from champion select. Let's take a quick peek at the fan vote over at lolesports.com. Currently, Dig is sitting and leading Evil Geniuses with 79% of the vote.
Yeah, but however this jungle Gragas goes, keep sending those picks to @LOLesports and use the hashtag DIGWin or EGWin to show us who you are supporting throughout the game.
So a very interesting game. We will be keeping an eye on that jungle Gragas and who he really tries to fuel. It doesn't seem like he's going to be doing for himself. That's a I'm getting every lane snowballed kind of jungler.
I really want to see the way Helios plays it because he is an in-your-face jungler.
Yeah.
Gragas is pretty good in the early game, should be able to sustain up in the jungle. The build path is still going to be a question mark, probably going to go with the Spectral Wraith just for clearing power, but that's not the way people have been playing him in the top lane. Top lane, they go Rod of Ages into Iceborne Gauntlets. Is he going to do the AP jungle item into an Iceborne Gauntlets? I really don't know how he's going to be playing that.
Well, one thing is for sure that if Dignitas doesn't want the fight, I was right with EG. I don't even know what I'm saying now. I was watching the screen load. If EG doesn't want this fight, then they can Tidal Wave and they can Gragas ult.
Yeah.
They can easily disengage anything.
A lot of mini knockups
to
help protect Altec's Kog'Maw.
Moving into the game, Spell Thief's Edge on Crapo to the Relic of Kiwi Kid. Also, we'll keep an eye on that Kog'Maw getting sustain lane. Something we've been seeing a little bit of back and forth. Last game, he had a Braum. We'll see Shifter on the Syndra in mid. Pole Belter wanted to be trying the Rise out, talking to his friends over in Korea and seeing what the deal is and going for it again. 1, 2, and 10 on that last time, so not huge, but they were able to beat Curse.
I'm definitely going to be paying close attention to that Helios jungle.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Especially to see how Crumbs kind of reacts to this, because now...
That's going to be a flash.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kiwi Kid so brazen with the way he plays Braum early game, knowing that whoever he catches with that, he thinks he can take down. I think that's 721 health with his rune and mastery set up already.
Just like Clayke said, listening to those comms and Observer of Dignitas. It's just the most fun to listen to, and I'm sure Kiwi Kid was saying some crazy stuff. I'm just going. I'm going in. We're doing this. He loves to play like that. Looks like they got the wards that they wanted, Jet. They're going to freely set up here on the bottom side. Very interesting play from Helios. Not figuring out what he wants to do yet. He knows people are in his jungle.
Yeah. Will we get the standard lanes as well? I mean, this Pobelter versus Shifter matchup. We've seen them go late game in the past with this Rise. When they played against Curse, they had the Rise and the Kale. And Pobelter had a very painful laning phase, which he transitioned out of well. But the Cinder is going to be equally as painful.
This is going to be huge. That kind of stinks for Helios to not be getting a blue buff. If you can't make it over there in time, you're going to have the back from Zion Spartan. He will lose the lane if he doesn't get up to Inox after this bye, but we'll see. A little tricky start here.
Oh, man. Kiwi Kid took a little bit of XP there from Crumbs, so Crumbs will not be hitting level 2 off of this. Greedy little Braum right there. Or a mistake because Crumbs smited rather early.
See how it affects. Helios didn't actually seem too bad.
Yeah.
Single Gragas, single Red. Gets it with half HP. He's chugging a few potions on that one. And we already see Crumbs coming out with the pink and the green to start this game out with the help of his team there as they start. They figured they could get a nice early lead. Crumbs heads down to his red buff. Helios is going to get a free blue for himself.
This would be a potential danger for him, exactly, because there's a lot of lane pressure from Shifter right now. And since they're not invading the jungle side that has a support to help them, only because Inox was pushed up so heavily. He has to come down and help him, which will give Zion Spartan some breathing room and create just a 2-for-2 buff exchange.
So in all of that play, the buffs,
Not much
like
left.
you said, yep, just exchanged out. Now we start the game. Inox versus Zion Spartan in the top lane. Inox doing a great job of actually getting into melee range to build up his Fury, and now he wants to push that ASAP. Getting it locked down for himself. We'll see if he can get any kills with the help of Helios coming up to the top side of that. Like we said, every lane coming out here with a good amount of crowd control to give Helios access to even better ganks.
Yeah, and the ganks from Helios should be pretty effective. There's a lot of CC tools on Gragas. We've seen him as a support, as a top laner.
Yeah.
Maybe a mid laner before the rework. I've seen some people do a post rework. It works okay, but definitely now as a jungler. Just got spotted by that ward. That could be killer here.
A very big push up by I'm a Cutie Pie and Kiwi Kid, but you're right. Crumbs is reading this like a book with the vision on that ward. The knowledge is putting him in a perfect spot, and I don't know, he backs off of this one. Spidey sense of Helios says not enough.
Yeah, something's fishy.
Or a little too much, a little too quiet. Great play by him. It actually moves towards the mid lane. A possibility on Shifter going hard onto Pobelter, but not so much. Not enough mana there to really put aggression on.
That boots start by Pobelter in the mid lane is proving to be quite effective early on in the game.
Dodging
using
the
the speed advantage on Shifter to not only dodge the spells of Shifter, but to get in range to use his Rise abilities and push him back a little bit. Has been very well played, but now will he have the speed to dodge the Crumbs gank?
He's had his focus on the CS. Perfect timing. You look for the CS, you go for the gank on your enemy. They get enough damage to push Pobelter out of lane. No summoners, but this is going to force Helios into the mid.
Dodging the flash, critical. You can see how squishy Rise is. Or dodging the stun. Dodging the flash.
Well, he dodged flashing as well.
Yeah.
Almost had to.
Early on is so critical.
Shifter, eyes on that siege minion. Not going to miss it. Not going to miss. Aw. Crumbs towards the top lane. 5 minutes on this. Gets a nice Q out for a little more attack speed to make his way into the jungle. 6.8, 6.7. Shifter backs for the first time, and it's a Negatron cloak coming out from Pobelter in the mid lane as he knows he's going to be taking a little hurt as this lane moves.
Yeah, we were wondering how he's going to plan on surviving this lane as Rise. A lot of Rises like to get tier as quickly as possible to start piling up damage. This just means it's going to be so much later for Pobelter. That is a huge investment, building that Negatron cloak this early on in the game. It just means it's what he has to do, really, against Shifter Syndra. He's just not going to be doing much damage for quite some time.
That burst for Shifter is only 1 level away. He's going to get that as soon as he gets back to lane and a few waves in. Nice bubble. Great damage trade here as Kiwi Kid quickly throws up the Unbreakable. I guess that'd be the stand behind me. Either or.
Yeah.
Safety.
He's got them both. They're both defensive abilities. I'm really impressed with the way Pobelter's CSing early against Shifter, though. He hasn't been getting hit by any of his harass, and he is up early on Shifter despite the gank from Crumbs. And here's Helios. There's that lockdown on Crumbs.
Oh,
Crumbs going to beat him to the spot,
very
though.
close. He's got... No, he does not. He has a sweeper on him, so he's going to try to hide. He's hiding. It worked.
Not hiding very well.
You need to get that safeguard up soon. Uh-oh. That was fantastic. It's like, I have a ward. Don't follow me. I'm just going to jump over.
What a play by Pobelter, though, to auto-attack the dragon.
Yeah.
Knowing Crumbs was going to have to wait a while on that safeguard because he safeguarded to a ward earlier. Oh, Inox.
Going hard on Zion Spartan. The flash is out. He flashes back on. Consistent damage and DPS coming from Dominus. He gets the W hit. Follows up with a call to me.
That's that surprise from Champ Select right there with the Renekton into the Jax, baiting Zion Spartan into that Jax, being able to punish him early as well with the pickaxe and the 15 CS advantage. Inox coming up pretty big, and this was just a straight up fight. Zion all in Inox as Inox was level 6. So yeah, Inox is just going to turn around and kill him. That is generally what Renekton does.
Full Fury W, gets a regular Q on. That's all he needed. Very nicely done for the extra damage.
Yeah. Big time overconfidence there from Zion Spartan. Kind of playing as if he had a jungler with him when he very clearly did not, because EG just saw Crumbs at the Dragon Pit.
And Zion Spartan, he thought he was coming into a different matchup altogether until he was faced up against Renekton. So he's been trying to, he's been trying to grab a little bit of a lead. Dignitas map control still in their favor as they move for the dragon.
Yeah, look at the wards around the dragon pit. They put an emphasis on the early dragon. Helios unable to do that. He's gone with the Spirit Stone very early.
You may be able to get this. Yourself over the wall.
And they should be able to get the blue buff, actually. Dignitas did not do a blue buff invade of their own after the dragon. They're going to move for it now because they're sensing the Pobelter is up to some funny business.
Wait a minute, Rise just ran out of lane up. So we're going to go ahead and steal this away. Shifter getting this nicely. Crumbs, level 4. So Helios is level 6. Now he just hit level 5, but not really wanting to be in too many big engages. He will be going down quick. 35 to 27 in that respect to the jungle CS. We'll see what kind of impact as we still watch Helios coming out of the jungle with Gragas. Dignitas moving back to their own side. So far, no real huge lead in the game. And they got to be careful here.
They know Zion's flash is down. And they also didn't get spotted coming up here. So Inox draws Tower Aggro a little bit early. He looks like he's in a lot of trouble.
I was going to say they helped him, but they locked him down. It doesn't matter if you get hit with Explosive Cask. Pobelter stops you immediately. You won't go flying the full distance. That was pretty cool.
Hopped him into the wall as well.
Yep.
Which is one of the big things. A 3-man roam up top just to try and keep Zion Spartan in a hole. Whether or not that's worth it is actually going to be dependent on how well Inox keeps him down, because they did give up a lot of mid lane pressure there. Shifter gets about half the turret, maybe more, whereas Helios tries to rotate down.
So Zion Spartan gets hit up twice. EG thinking they don't want to deal with the split push game later. They soften him up a little bit, give Inox the upper hand in that lane. See if they can keep working it. So far, it's only an assist to Helios' Gragas, but they get a move on it. So far, snowballing Pobelter into his kill. Still waiting for a kill to come off on Dignitas' side, but they're staying deathless also.
Yeah. Pretty clean game from
bottom
PG
side
so far.
Yep.
I still want to see how this jungle Gragas transitions into the later stages of the game, however. Brings a lot of utility to the team. It's one of the big reasons top lane Gragas is huge. He has good base damages. They build tank, they build Iceborne Gauntlet, and he's this heavy damage, hard to kill tank that you can't get away from. It takes much longer to get to that point in the jungle, and the question will be, can he actually get that power in the jungle, or is he going to go straight AP and try to be a nerfed version of an AP damage jungler?
Right.
Not really sure what direction he will go.
So far, hasn't got anything for himself with that assist. He's sitting on 1,100 gold, so the first buy will definitely be one.
He's going to want to finish his jungle item. He's probably going to try and jungle until that point. Something we haven't talked about is this Altec Kog'Maw. He is one of the most devastating hyper carries we've seen when he gets into the late game, especially with that great Jinx game he had against Curse with the pentakill. And Kog'Maw is the new hotness here in the bottom lane. Altec seems like the perfect player to be trying to get to late game on it.
It is. Kog'Maw really, he's so much more accelerated if you know how to position, and that's one of Altec's main just advantages in his play. Main strength, thank you, is his ability to position. Living Artillery helps, as well as being in range. It's easy to get yourself killed when your W turns off.
Yeah.
You walk a little closer.
Especially with the Lee Sin in the game. Not too much maneuverability on Kog'Maw if Crumbs gets the right attack. Crumbs very, very...
We saw what happened to Candy Panda from Cotton X.
Yes,
that was crazy stuff.
One of our LCS big plays from last week. Kog'Maw's not a very safe dude against Lee Sin.
Yeah. Scary stuff, and Crumbs is looking to make that happen. You can see him communicating with the team. There's Pobelter in mid. Pobelter feels like it's a little too quiet. He's going to go ahead and sweep out around him. 97 to 93 in that mid lane. He did finally get his tier, but he's piecing everything together right now. It's a little smorgasbord in his inventory. Finally, the junglers meet. It's a Lee Sin versus a big guy. That's Gragas trying to do what he can. Oh, the ping pong game is amazing. It is going to be followed up, but what a 1-2 punch coming in from Pobelter there and the rest of the team.
That was still a really cool combo, but the effectiveness of them are the junglers are dead.
Helios.
You know, Pobelter decided to walk in and finish him off just as easily. But then let's just take another look at this. You can see Helios is a pretty beefy dude. Not falling down instantly, kick back into a stun.
And then he gets moved room prisoned.
Yeah,
That's
did have to burn the flash, and the auto attack is what finished him. The teleport was not needed. Really interesting development, actually. Helios going for the Spirit of the Ancient Golem. He's going full tank utility Gragas at this point. He could still do Iceborne Gauntlets afterwards, but yeah, he's going for strictly utility and relying completely on his base damages, which are still quite generous.
Yeah. Be a hard man to lock down with all that crowd control reduction. It's a little bit of tenacity. It knocks the super freeze. Oh, a little too close. Toying with fire. Don't touch it, it's hot.
Trying to keep Zion away from those minions. Look at the CS differential here. Zion's still just sitting on that vamp.
Wow. He's got him doubled. Pretty much doubled.
Gold edge.
Looking for the Winter's Bite onto Altac. He's left by himself right now and still staying quite even in CS, which means he was up before Crepo left lane. That's going quite well for them. Crepo himself has been on a variety of supports lately and has also still been able to work wonders with Altac. That combination is something that EG also needed with the addition of Helios.
Really reinvigorated Crepo, it feels like, being such a young, talented AD carry here.
Sometimes you just need that spark. Revitalizing in the young age. Looks like the Scrying Orb again picked up by Altac, keeping the safety on, also allowing better living artilleries to hit, and then the continuation of vision from that. So they're really synergizing a bit of things here as they build up.
Prepping for the Dragon right now. EG not really in position. Inox is running down. Zion Spartan could teleport down, but the vision control is non-existent. Crumbs!
A little bit of a miss kick there. That's the disengage we were talking about before. If they want to turn it around, they can decide to stop the fight and turn it around.
A 4-0-0 rise at this stage of the game is terrifying if you're Dignitas.
Yeah.
He's gonna probably get this Dragon as well.
Pobelter played it against Curse in week 6 on day 1. He's not afraid to play the Rise. And he played it safe enough against a Syndra to come out on top. Great blocking by Helios with the body.
He is a big fat tank right there. Taking all the hits and saving the Dragon. Zion getting some nice split push on right here.
What?
Can't hear over the sound of Zion hitting
I
the
can't
turret.
hear you. 15 minutes into this, Zion gets himself some gold in the top lane. He's going to have a little bit of free farm. Never mind. That's a crocodile.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a Tiamat. He just says, get out. Front doorstep is mine. They're actually going to go for this fight. Dominus is up. And that was a lot of big damage as the Cutlass was used for a slow, but no engage for the fight.
Yeah. But,
Baiting up the Pobelter.
These Pobelter Rise scariness.
Yeah.
Is going to be tricky.
That Rod of Aegis finished too, so he's
he's right on course. He managed to bypass that early game with the Negatron Cloak and then get right back on track. Yes, his tier will be a little bit slower. He's only at 206 of his 750 on the tier of the Goddess stacks. But his time will come because he is clearly very strong right now in the game. The scaling in this game will be a very interesting thing to track because it is a bit of a misnomer that Jax outscales everything. If you have crowd control to shut him down in team fights, in 1v1 scenarios, yes, he is very, very good. Almost nothing will out.
Gets the stacks up, you're pretty much done.
But in team fights, he is manageable. If they can stun him or crowd control him with the Gragas, Renekton, and Rise, and even the Nami while he jumps into a fight, once his Counter-Strike is down, Kog'Maw can shred through him. And Rise, on the other hand, is like a machine gun of magic damage. He's kind of like an AD carry of mages, if that makes sense. Constantly rotating spells through, much like an AD carry would rotate auto attacks through a fight. And with the way Pobelter has started, they have 2 hyper carries to go with the Renekton, who is a mid-game laning power.
Pobelter has exceptional skill at times. Sometimes he will go off and show you that he is one of the best mid laners. Last season, I believe he was one of the players with the most unique champions played. I thought he was almost challenging himself to do it. Missing out on Kiwi Kid there.
I believe Kiwi Kid blocked that ultimate with his Unbreakable. I'd have to see it again to make sure, but I think that's what happened. And it completely saved his life right there, blowing the ultimate of Helios.
Very strong. I don't know if people have seen what Unbreakable can do, but it blocks a good amount of things.
Yep.
Seen Nami Wave go into it as well. Pretty cool stuff. 2K gold on favor of EG. Zion Spartan's looking to make up a little bit of that himself. 40 CS down in the top lane. Those 2 kills definitely put a hurting on him. And Nunox made sure that it continued. Sunfire Cape for him into the Tiamat so he can keep the lane pushed as well. See what EG's next plan is here. Kind of been slowing down with the Dragon down.
Yeah, they're hoping to find some kills.
They got the wards down.
By moving around. They got a couple pink wards there in the river to hopefully make their lateral movement harder to spot. Shifter and Crumbs are a little bit scared of Pobelter now. The last few times they've tried to pull off some kick maneuvers, Pobelter just killed Lee Sin. There's a frozen lane for Altec. So honestly, EG is kind of thinking that they're in pretty good shape right now. Jackson's contained for now because Renekton has enough armor to take him down at the moment. That could become a 1v1 problem later. It's probably what Dignitas is banking on.
Oh, very close. Kind of reconsiders that on the turnaround. And definitely, as you were saying, all those advantages, something EG has to keep in mind, too, that it doesn't get them in trouble. Because if they do bring Altec out to the party now, when he's not as powerful as everybody else feels, things can go pretty bad if they get on the AD carry quick. So with the power somewhat at the same level, they still got to worry about Altec being a little baby Kog'Maw right now.
Yeah. I mean, right now, if you're Dignitas, you got to be getting on top of Pobelter.
Yeah,
you have to be finishing him off because otherwise,
Kog'Maw gets big.
Otherwise, Ryze's sustained damage will be too much. And then later, they will have 2 big-time priority targets where you don't kill that guy, he's killing your whole team.
We'll see if Dig makes that move. Not having enough time to activate the counter-strike as the slice and dice goes out, but now Inox trying to create the pressure in the top lane. After the blue, we've got a minute and 30 on Dragon, so we may see a bit of a pressure towards the mid or maybe towards I'm a Cutie Pie alone down here. So EG can get the control for that. Very slow after Pobelter got those kills. Nobody really wants to meet with him face to face. Definitely a lot of respect from Dignitas towards EG in this game. And EG's also one of the teams that have taken down Cloud9 this season. So Dignitas has to be ready. Up to the top side, Inox getting hit up. Level 13 to 12, and Zion Spartan is really taking him to town.
Yeah, Blade of the Ruin King active used there.
Yep.
And no sustained tools on Inox right now. A little surprised he didn't go with a Ravenous Hydra or a Blade of the Ruin King.
Yeah, he stopped out short.
To help sustain himself back up if he's doing trades with Sound Spartan. But nonetheless, that's the way he's rolling, and it's actually hurting his overall CS. Zion was down 50 to 60, and now he's only down about 25.
That mid lane, actually still quite even. We see Shifter with a death. That brings him up to 10. If he averages 4.5 deaths, if you could, across the rest of his games, he would have to get that many to equal out his last split's deaths. He's only died 9 times. So like Zyrene said, having all that control, being able to stay in the mid lane is huge. But if he can't control the game like we just saw a Syndra do, it's going to be harder. Dignitas is really kind of grabbing right now for
this is a potentially big fight right there. Ooh. Another blocked
out.
Gragas ultimate by Unbreakable from Kiwi Kid.
Looks like Dragon may be in the near future here for Evil Geniuses with a few ults being down. They still have the tidal wave to disengage if they don't like what they see, and it's going to be from the underside here. Dignitas wants to pinch them up towards Syndra. We see Shifter making his way out of that position, though. They're not in position to fight.
Leo's pretty low. Pobelter flash
face to face, almost hits it, gets kicked back, but it does finalize the kill. He was able to throw down the Ignite to get that. Finally, the shutdown coming in from Shifter. He starts to put some gold under his belt. Inox is trying to move towards the fight, but he's so slow from the Winter's Bite. Doesn't finish the concussive blows coming over from Crumbs. No lockup there. Still have Helios for the smite down.
And Zion is split pushing this top lane the entire time. So this could be real bad for EG if they get the smite.
He just got on the turret. That is going to Helios. No smite was used by Crumbs. They take him down, and it looks like the fight is going to actually be chasing Kiwi Kid out. This turret gets dropped. Zion Spartan had the siege wave to assist him up here. They're going to be trading a little bit, but the pressure Zion can create may help more than this.
And in this fight, it was impressive that Pobelter was able to do so much damage to I'm a Cutie Pie. But at the end of the day, he flashed in without the support of his team. Kiwi Kid waited around to teleport. It got canceled, actually, by Zion. I feel like he would have teleported in. They could have created some nice action. Tidal Wave blocked by Kiwi Kid. He has dodged some incredibly important spells with that Braum shield.
Kiwi Kid definitely loving the Braum lately. He's played it twice in week 5, 2 times in a row. Played it in week 6. And then I believe he was forced down to Nami for his other game. So really suiting his play style of, remember when he used to play Annie, he'd flash ult every time he had it. When you're Braum, you just throw up a shield and walk right into everybody.
Yeah.
Must feel good.
Locking those projectiles.
So we have the Infinity Edge built up on Cutie Pie, not having a huge game for himself, but enough to get a finalized item that hopefully puts himself out damaging Altec at this point. With that Triforce built onto Kog'Maw, starts to give him that speed and safety that he's so denied as a squishy little puppy dog.
206 CS. He's keeping up with the pace of the game. All the farmers of EG are doing quite well. The Helios build is just going full tank. He's not even worrying about the slight damage increase from Iceborne Gauntlet. Spirit Visage will be his next build. Really relying on Kog'Maw and Rise for their damage. It's one of those old 2-threat builds, but 2 hyper carry threats. We've been seeing a bit of a throwback to the really old style compositions and play styles. Very recently, especially when Kog'Maw comes back. It's more about knowing he will do so much damage that you build the rest of your team with tank and utility just to enable him to do good things.
Yep. Lots of different ways. Sometimes you'll see the shields. Shield protect composition, speeds up. This time it's all that lockdown to keep him safe. A lot more Nami lately as well. Sustain has been very favored in those lanes, in the duo lane. 2,000 gold for EG. Doesn't mean much right now. It's a lot on Pole Belter, but he's also facing Shifter, who's now got another kill for himself at 3-1. So the mid laners putting out some damage. As if I'm a Cutie Pie can start matching Altec here as he starts hitting all those living artilleries and bioarcanes. EG good at playing with a lead, but can they hold it? They're a team that has been able to close games out once they get even a small one.
That was generally the storyline for them last split. But if we actually remember one of Helios' first games against LMQ, EG was up a couple kills early in the game.
True.
And they held that 3,000 or 4,000 gold lead for 40 minutes, lost a team fight, and then lost the game.
Yeah.
Getting picked off like that doesn't help.
Like shoot,
we'll definitely get that replay up for you guys once the action calms down, because Dignitas has potential threat around the Baron pit here.
We already see Pole Belter trying to stop the split push here onto Zion Spartan, which means the rest of the team kind of has to group together. You see him scurrying for mid. Altec out of mana can only provide just auto attacks here. That almost kind of depletes what Kog'Maw's purpose is.
So far back, almost nothing from the Gragas ultimate.
Helios single-manning this turret.
He's trying to defend it, but I mean,
oh man,
it took a whole chunk of damage.
He's kind of showing pure aggression here, trying to fake the team out, but they're not buying it. They know it's a bluff. Dignitas able to stay well within range to take this turret down in just a few. We have Crepo back though. That disengage from Tidal Wave is now there as Explosive Cask was used first. See that kill? Oh, he sets it up. Saw him coming from the ward.
Jeez.
Takes him out.
Yeah, didn't get the exhaust off in time either. He exhausted right near the end.
Yeah.
So he died and lost his exhaust.
Unfortunate. At least it didn't flash.
Yeah.
Those people that think, it's going to heal me. Flash. Oh, I died.
The orbs followed me from the Cinder ult. No.
Still a little bit of gold, but Dignitas easily closing that gap. Wow. Kiwi Kid using the stand behind me and getting that Winter's Bite in the way. Great use of the Braum techniques, really seeing every alley or avenue that he can use to get an engage in or get some more pressure on. A minute on to Dragon. Pole Belter still quite big as he starts to piece together a few more things in his build. That Frozen Heart coming out quite soon.
Definitely becoming a standstill here.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be heavily about how Zion Spartan can get going in a split push game versus how well EG can find organized team fights, because that's what they need when they only have 2 primary damage dealers, is a lot of smoothness and coordination in their team fights. They can't just have all their damage dealers doing whatever. They have to be very focused with what they do, which will mean Shifter, with his target selection, becomes very critical as well. This could be the takedown of Zion, but Jax can run a long way, pretty fast.
Oh, ultimate coming in from Pole Belter.
And Baron has been begun right now.
Yeah, the run. I'm a Cutie Pie Kiwi Kid trying to go hard on this. Kiwi Kid's taking a bit more damage. Now we got Crumbs in.
And
there's the teleport. Wait, he could get the W on. He flashed into the brush and he got it. There is going to be no teleport coming in on this fight. They have Baron down to about 4,200. Altec's on the outside. A crit hit coming in. Very nicely onto Crumbs for about 250 damage from Altec with that Bioarcane on. Whew. That was a tight one, but they were able to stop the Baron attempt.
Yeah, a nearly brilliant play by Dignitas. If not for Inox interrupting that teleport, Dignitas would have had enough damage to burst down the Baron before EG got there, but because they stopped it, Dignitas is so low having to back, it cost them a turret.
A lot of attack speed coming out of that Kog'Maw. Scales so well with the W, and it also helps to take down those turrets, even if you don't have a super amount of damage built up yet. Altec still doing big things, keeps himself deathless on the map, gaining experience, gaining CS. trying to be the carry for his team. Haven't actually seen him come to fruition in his usual play just yet. But we also haven't seen him on too much Kog'Maw either. 7-4 as we now get a bit more of a gold lead. 3 of 4 dragons to Evil Geniuses. But is it enough to control the game? Halfway through the split here, we kind of talk about having that lead, being able to control it, but with only half the split left, you have to correct those mistakes. Have to be something you fix.
$4,000 gold. Well, 3,000
Yep.
actually. Got to get my counting right. A lot of Negatron cloaks being built up by EG, and double Spirit Visage as well.
Fear
meaning,
Syndra.
Yeah, Syndra can't necessarily kill someone right now. Altec probably, but if he gets Mikhail's partway through, they still might have enough shielding to keep him alive.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, he is a really tanky dude. You don't want to be messing with him.
Draws him in.
Maybe they do.
Another one. Oh, gets the flash kick. Shifter rocks out the ultimate. The Void Staff is finished there. It just doesn't even matter that he has a Spirit Visage. Helios just dropped immediately.
Wow. Much like me, Helios thought he was a little bit unkillable right there.
Yeah,
Proven
oh no.
wrong by
baited right in.
Single target damage of Syndra and the fact that EG wasn't backing him up. So Dignitas had all the freedom to just burst down the full tank, low threat character because EG had no damage to support him.
So EG seamlessly now making moves that are putting Dig back in the game. Shifter's grabbed 2 kills recently off of just EG trying to move around. That last dragon, and now Crumbs meeting Helios in the jungle goes to Shifter, the guy that can carry the game. Really has done so previously for Dignitas. Farming himself up 282 to 273. Dignitas may feel like they have the chance to make some moves now. Their lanes are quite well pushed.
Yeah, and I'm seeing a lot of difference in the way these teams build. EG is building tremendously defensive right now. Look at all the defensive items across the board. Quicksilver Sash, 3rd item on Kog'Maw, an extra Negatron cloak sitting on the support. You know, a full tank jungler, not even a thought of a damage item. When you cross the board to Dignitas, 3 offensive items for Cutie-Pie, 2 offensive items for the top lane. Lizard Elder on Crumbs' Lee Sin. It's very much damage versus defense right now.
Seems like it could work in a way, but you still have Shifter, you still have Zion Spartan on damage dealers for the end. Crumbs may fall off, but he provides all the kicks that have been killing EG, so it's not mattering if he's the damage dealer. Dignitas seems to have it figured out, and like you said, EG with their builds, seems like they think they have it figured out. We have Jax in the bottom lane. I don't know if that's the focus yet. That's still held by Inox. And Baron still on the minds of these players. Still a stalemate, though. Back and forth this entire game. The CS very close across the board. Yeah, giving it all in Super Week.
We've had a few nail-biters here already. COG game was, as far as COG's fans are concerned, not really a win. It counts, but they're not happy with it. The Cloud9 game was crazy in the late game. And this one is incredibly close. It's all about Zion Spartan split pushing right now. How well Inox can keep him in check. So far, it's been okay.
Yeah, Dignitas doing a lot better at some of their weakness, and that was ever from playing from behind. Usually they'd get the win, run with it, take it. From behind, they've been able to coordinate a little bit better. Come out with a bit more for Shifter and control objectives with Crumbs.
Yeah, EG definitely not forcing things here. As of yet. Pobelter has got to be feeling incredibly powerful, though, with that Frozen Heart. And the extra defense from a Negatron cloak. Jeez.
It's one thing I got to give credit for Dig for. Maybe they're not fighting. They're definitely not feeding Pobelter either, because that would probably be the case once they get into these matchups. Zion Spartan stealing away red. He's going, or his own red, I should say. He's going to be fighting down in the bottom lane against Inox, who's taking bottom turret. EG is slowly using this pressure in the mid lane to hope something happens. The push in the top lane from Cutie-Pie, he's just getting himself farmed and fat. He's going to be real big soon. I don't know, EG kind of seems to, is almost not giving this to Dignitas, but allowing them to figure out what to do next.
Yeah, and it's something that Dignitas hasn't done very well this split. In most of Dignitas' victories, they are snowballed ahead and they win by 10 or 20,000 gold. Games that are extremely close or games where they're playing from behind, they have typically not done well. So in order for Dignitas to try and grab sole possession of first place like they want to do during the Super Week, they have to be able to win games like this, or at least maneuver around opponents who have a slight edge.
Yeah, they would be able to do it too with Cloud9 beating LMQ, making LMQ 9-6 instead of that 10-5. Gives Dignitas the chance to be the sole possession leader. See if they can rock that out. Zion Spartan just with a white right now, but they are looking for that win.
Yeah.
4-3 in the turrets, a very lax ward game, I would say, from what we usually see from Dignitas as well. Crumbs is usually all over that.
Yeah, well, division control hasn't been huge for them this game just because they're so afraid of EG.
Right.
And just to clarify, win here for Dignitas will tie them with CLG for first.
Oh, CLG, right,
victory
yes.
over complexity. But it's still a 4-game
We're 3 games in already.
Yeah. And there will be a lot of differentiating going on, but it feels like with a loss here, being in sole possession of first would not be very likely by the end of the week.
Man, games are going so quick. Gold lead hasn't really been moved. Both teams increasing at the same rate because nobody wants to make a move.
This is really reminiscent of EG's defeat at the hands of LMQ, where they got a bit of a lead early with a really tanky jungler and then weren't able to maneuver too much because they could not get their threats in position to succeed. This could be a little bit dangerous.
Both teams are playing to not lose at the moment.
A little bit.
Not really.
Well, they
the
both
victory.
have their own ace in the hole late game. They feel
Right.
Like.
Yeah.
Zion Spartan is the late game Jax with split push. Pobelter and Altec for EG. But the solo laner's doing Dragon while a Baron's going down. This is just sloppy by EG. They can't stop this.
Let's get a little love for action here. We're going to get the Baron pit fight going on 35 minutes in. Helios on the outside trying to do what he can. But the Gragas on the backside of the Baron pit, everybody always talks about, does not help. It's going to be the smite down from Crumbs. Dignitas start to get a little gain on the game.
And EG doesn't even get the Dragon right there. So just a disaster. You saw a ward just die out at the Dragon pit. So EG was doing that Dragon on top of a sneakily placed Dignitas ward, I'm pretty certain. Now they go and try and close this Dragon, but it could just be more trouble if Dignitas mirrors.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Coming down, Crumbs gets the ward out. Banshee's fail is
worth
there.
it.
He can take the first attack, and they seem quite scared. Enox able to dodge out a Sonic Wave. Taken over. Dignitas grabs Dragon as well. Even more gold for them. And just see how this engage came out from the right side.
Yeah, I mean, Crepo tried to get a tidal wave. It hits one guy with Hamacutie Pie.
1v1 shifter, ouch.
The big thing is Zion had his full attack speed stacks when he hopped over the wall and took out Helios to make the smite steal not a possibility. That was the biggest move in that fight. Harnessing the strength of Jax.
Great job by Dignitas, putting their foot down when the time was necessary. See what they can do for the rest of the match. Shouldn't take too long from now if they can get to those inhibitors, but it's going to be tough trying to push against this team. You have Altec clearing out waves, Helios clearing as well. Not that the casts are doing the same amount of damage, but EG can definitely hold at their base. They're no stranger to that.
Yeah, and they're going to have to now because they gave up Baron and did not get a kill back on Dignitas. So it's 5 Dignitas team members with the Baron buff. EG's actually hoping to catch someone just running to lane a little bit sloppily, but they've ran in here without necessarily clearing out all the wards. They missed a pink on their way in here, so they're not going to be catching any rogue Dignitas people around here.
Well, they use their time accordingly. The map is objective free. Nobody can push the top lane too much, so they start getting the low-hanging fruit. Outer tier turrets go down, play some more offensive wards, hopefully. And they're trying to get good clears on. They're looking for a pick. They're not pushing themselves into a dangerous situation, which is good. We heard kind of Skara talking about that to his team in the video, like, you know, don't put yourself into a situation. Do you think you're really that far behind?
Well,
EG seems like they're right in the middle right now.
There's a Braum coming from the top if
Yeah.
Crumbs wants to continue this fight.
And that's that coordination, knowing a little too deep at this point. But Kiwi Kid looks like, I was going to say, that would be a really nice Glacial Fissure to
How
hit
long do they want to
perpendicular.
continue this chase? If Dig was in a little bit more coordinated of a position, they could get this. But you can tell EG's still running.
I thought he was going to do something crazy. I'd leave it up to Kiwi Kid to flash over the wall and Glacier Fissure. That's not even a word. Glacial Fissure everybody before they can even get there. Slow
You can tell he was
movement.
thinking about it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Dignitas is having a little bit of fun right now. I'm sure Kiwi Kid's comms are of the laughables. 2,000 gold now. Dignitas is taking the lead as they're split pushing each lane. 2 in the bottom, 2 and 3 in the mid. EG putting all their power on a cutie pie. Oopsie daisy.
Nice flash catch there by Pobelter. Should stop this push and basically negate the Baron that Dignitas has. They really didn't have to burn much outside of a couple flashes for that kill. So their team fight power is just as high as it would be. It means Dignitas cannot continue this push.
Slow going on this one. Looks like we're going to get the long haul in here. EG knows that they can keep themselves up with the strength of Pobelter and the disengage that we've been talking about of Crepo and Helios. Dignitas really hasn't committed to too much of these fights. Another turret went down, 6-4. It was really, overall, a lot of stalemates after one person dies from each side. Just everything kind of just stops.
Yeah, very farm-heavy game. I think the AD carries want to be hitting that 6-item threshold.
Yeah.
Altek's items are very expensive. Trinity Force.
Yep.
Even if he goes Mercurial Scimitar. Not even sure if he would finish his build with the defensive item, even because Scimitar is already a little bit defensive, or even more lifesteal in case someone were to build a very late game Thornmail when we get there.
Yeah.
Because this game is going long. It's already above the average game length for both of these guys during the split. And we do not even have an inhibitor turret down yet.
No. Quite far from that. Previous 2 times we've seen these teams played, the inhibitors have already been down, both by Dignitas' hands, but they haven't been able to make it in the base. Something we know EG from doing all the way back as CLG EU's mentality, kind of floating over here in the force of defense here for the rest of the members of, at least Crepo, I should say. Snoopy on the backside, giving the team information. Dignitas, however, using Scar as the coach, he's talking to the team every time before they go into games to kind of reset what they're thinking about. And as they discuss it, you can kind of see as they got in the car, they were even saying, you know, what are we doing last night? We're like, we wrote it down. We'll get there when we get in the game. Don't overthink it. Don't do too much of this. Do what we planned. Deviating from the normal thing has seemed to hurt a lot of the top teams lately.
Yeah, well, I don't know how you plan for Jungle Gragas. Definitely caught Dignitas a little bit off guard early on, but they've adapted quite well throughout the game. This Helios build has not transitioned into any type of meaningful damage or threat.
Yeah,
early game was all right, but now, see an attempted flank attack. Here comes Jax.
Oh, hello, Zion Spartan. Helios gets hit up. The disengage is actually dodged out quite well on that. But it doesn't look like Dignitas has the engage that they want. Hit up onto Crumbs. That's a lot of damage going on to quite a tanky jungler. Inox is now the focus. Can they get back to Altek? He's not even throwing out any auto attacks. It's only living artillery at this point. And everybody's kind of just trading long-range, low-damage abilities here.
Everybody calm down. We got a bunch of tanks in the house. Bubble, though, with Kiwi Kid.
Oh, my gosh. Still back and forth. Baron buff has has worn up. It's just about up, so it's not even like Dig is fighting with that. What a fight.
Based on that fight, I think we're going to be here for a little while.
Just a tad. Might want to pay for parking again.
There is a heavily tanked up EG team, which makes it very difficult for Dignitas to fight back. But likewise, it makes it difficult for EG to actually kill. Kiwi Kid is so good at warding off damage with that Braum.
Yeah.
Unless Pobelter can catch someone like I'm a Cutie Pie again, those fights aren't necessarily going to happen. Altek needs time to shred up more and more damage because Inox, Helios, and Crepo aren't going to be doing any.
Well, it gets difficult. The last time we've seen Pobelter get those kills have been pretty much flash rune prisons. And doing that at this point, pretty much instant death from either side of the map. Both objectives are live. Thanks for that, Gragas. And we got 4K in the gold lead of Dignitas. Really not even an item threshold or a surge of power coming from that. It could mean this fight.
The Baron catches are very real. Dignitas just saw that gold graph. It swung so heavily in the favor of Dig once they did that last Baron. They're trying to use it as much of an ally as possible. And they know that EG's damage potential is quite low, which means that even if Dignitas does a Baron and it's a little bit of a bad call, they may still have the freedom to disengage. But because they are the damage team, their Baron pressure is much higher than that of EG, which is why they actually were able to go down and sneak that Dragon while EG was posturing around the Baron, whereas when the opposite happened with the last Baron, Dignitas just straight up took it.
Dignitas doing a great job dancing around the fight. Helios, he won't take too much off of that. But Dignitas now using what used to be the bane of every game they would play is now becoming quite a big friend of theirs in this Baron attempt. They know EG may not have the coordination to get there. And with Zion Spartan getting such good flanks in to start these fights, Dignitas has really been able to take an upper hand.
Yeah, this Baron goes down fast. It's a high-pressure scenario right now. Gragas Barrel does give vision, though, so it's a nice scouting tool.
It's a little bit slower, though. Pobelter was pushing out Zion. They have full vision on him the whole time, and Dig knows that Zion is a key factor in causing chaos in these fights. Go back here.
Yeah, with the giant minion wave down bottom, I'm a little bit surprised Crepo chose that moment to go back. They could have definitely had some 5v4 Baron pressure. Zion Spartan is going down there without a teleport because he used his teleport to try and engage. That's a golden opportunity to force a 5v4 at Baron, or at least get some vision control back, which was somewhat squandered there by EG. Now they go.
Moving very, very quickly. This is going to spark some interest from Dignitas here. EG is trying to get onto the Baron. They do have a Kog'Maw on it with the Blade of the Rune King, but everybody else, like we said, is providing armor. Not a lot of damage. This puppy's going to go down slow. Still at 7,000 health. They've only done half HP to Baron. The tidal wave goes out with the cask as well. That is all their disengage. The engage now from Kiwi Kid. The Baron has already been stopped. Dig got what they wanted.
EG can't do enough damage to Dignitas right now. Lee Sin and Kiwi Kid are too much peel. They barely scratched EG in that entire peel off. And now they're low on resources, and Jax is back.
And EG has just funneled themselves in the mid. Dig has pretty much controlled them now into that lane, and Dig now has the side of Baron in their favor. What a little do-si-do here. Dignitas playing very well.
Yeah.
Just kind of walking EG around the map.
At this point, EG either goes into a fight with low resources or gives up the Baron. That Baron goes down incredibly fast.
Looking for the full engage. Nobody's even going to go for Baron on this when they try to stay on the fight, but they do peel off. Helios gets in, hit only a little bit of mana, and he flashes body slams to try and do what he can. EG going hard. Inox is going to fall down. Altec taking the calling to the backside. Just a few shots of the tickling, and he gets out of that one alive.
No mana on Altec, no health on Crepo. So many people flashing red, but Dignitas continues this because they can damage the Baron quickly, and EG is scared to re-engage.
Shifter with blue buff, just easily zoning everybody out with simple ball moves here. Oh, Shifter gets hit on! Pobelter flashes in again for these fights previously as well. Coming in, low mana everywhere, but they still have the chase. What a back and forth game right now.
Can he close? Pobelter's pretty fast.
Can't get any shots on the Ardent Blaze. It's not going to give him any movement speed. Pobelter should have it. A last shot, Living Artillery possibly hit. He can't get through the trees. Nobody cut down the trees.
Wow. You wanted to sneak through that. The map has not been modified yet, Cutie Pie.
Nope.
Yeah.
See that one last time.
Jeez. This open onto Shifter blew the Zhonya's early right here, and then it's all about how tanky Pobelter actually is. See?
Yeah.
Dignitas needs to focus him down and push him out of the fight. And this is what happens when a team builds so heavily defensive. You get these incredibly long fights where it's all about the threats right now. Where is Shifter Cutie Pie hitting, and where is Pobelter Altec hitting? If that culling was a little bit more in one direction, the fight's over, because they would have killed the Kog'Maw. But then with the re-engage, knowing the Zhonya's is down, as soon as Pobelter can close in a distance of Shifter, it's lights out for Shifter, and then Dignitas has to peel off the Baron. It was the bubble from Crepo that really did it for them right there. What a ridiculously close fight. And we talked about it earlier, Riv, how these late game team compositions are very close to each other in power, which will make this late game so fascinating.
Fascinating and awesome. This is a great game right now. We're still at the Baron. Everybody spawns and they come back for the party. Happy 4th of July.
They might burst this down
46 minutes on it. It's going down very low.
Doesn't have very good vision.
3,600 health on Baron. Nobody's in range. Baron goes down in favor of Evil Geniuses now. Oh, baby, we got a game.
Yeah.
Baron on each side of 46 minutes. EG now holds it for the next 4. We'll see what they can do. A minute and a half on the Dragon. May not even be in their near future as they are looking for inhibitors.
Things we have to note here. Max items have been obtained by Pobelter. He can't get any stronger right now, outside of wearing this Baron buff and a blue elixir, which he doesn't actually have. That would be like a little bit of gold. Altec could still upgrade his QSS. And Shifter is at max items as well. We're kind of maxing out power right here. It's all about who wins these fights, just based on their champions at this point.
A little more on the turret. Doesn't look like they're going to give up until that goes down. So Dignitas has to consider here. Kiwi Kid, as usual, on the front line. Missing a bit of Winter's bite there, and it looks like that's going to give the enough shots here.
Yeah, some tankiness if EG wants to dive, but there's still so much damage from PewDiePie. I don't think they're tanked up enough. They don't have any Thorn Mails right now.
No Thorn Mails, Glacial Fissure, Scatter the Weak. Be so big if Shifter can hit that on the front line. Great set of defense coming in here from Dignitas now that they've gotten everybody on that wall of D.
Yeah, so right now PewDiePie has some low gold cost items. Static Shiv is relatively cheap. Whereas Kog'Maw's items are much more expensive if he is to complete them. The Trinity Force plus if he gets a Mercurial Scimitar. His 6-item build is more valuable than the one that PewDiePie could put together. And Kog'Maw already scales stronger than Lucian. Something Dig has to keep in mind. Zion's trying to get split push going, but he has to make sure to not stray too far from the nest here, knowing EG has Baron and a lot of tanks to dive. Inox is just sitting on the turret.
Wow. Whoa, they're going to take down Kiwi Kid first. He's been the huge peel for the team. Raid Boss goes down, but they also lose Inox. That's the other side of the tank here. They did get the inhibitor. How far are they going to pressure? Pole Belters used his ultimate, and now they're just standing tall.
I mean, just the inhibitor turret even, and we saw the massive damage potential from the full ability power shifter, Deathfire Grasp with all that other stuff. Destroyed Inox. He's trying to itemize a little bit of armor. Tough luck. Teleport in from Zion.
Slowly pushing
He's top lane.
Oh my gosh, he is top lane. Quickly
got to get
going
back.
after. EG's making the calls. We need to hit the base. And Zion's going to be taken down. The inhibitor turret as well. Freely traded for the team. You can see him trying to put the pressure on. These guys have no chance to back, and that's going to take 8 seconds anyways. Again, Crumbs onto Helios. Zion Spartan gets everything he wants. He gets the leap strike, and then he pops it up with a counter strike. If he doesn't get Void Oozed, he's out of this one. Words are fun. EG loses a bit of their
Zion
base.
Spartan right there makes the most miraculous move. This is all about EG letting their minion waves get out of control while trying to overpress their Baron.
Not watching the map.
They have to respect the teleport of Jax, especially with, like, that was a minion wave that was almost big enough to take the turret on its own.
Right.
The fact that Jax was there just expedited the process. So a really good timing on the Zion Spartan teleport, and now that the split push is even more of a threat, it makes it difficult for these two threats of EG to position themselves properly, because even one of them can't kill Zion. They actually need to send both if they want to take him down, which just limits their maneuverability so much more.
I was just going to say that.
We're going to be here a while.
Dignitas gets a bit more open on the map, and EG, the late game, seems to kind of pressure them a little too much. Making a few mistakes that could have really been a solidifier for Dignitas. Now feeling strong enough to move out of their base. Obviously, they just lost an inhibitor turret, but they're feeling great compared to what EG just lost.
And if EG gets trapped into their base a little bit, which might happen with the inhibitor down, at some point Dignitas needs to be able to win a team fight against all of these really CC-focused tanks. Zion Spartan has actually been sitting on Ninja Tabi almost this entire game, but he just recently went back to base and built the Mercury Treads. We talked about late game Jax having the weakness of getting locked down in team fights. He needs that tenacity to try and prevent the Rune Prisons, the slows from Helios' Gragas, the stuns from Inox, all those things in order to team fight. And he's actually sacrificing a little bit to Kog'Maw damage, which could still shred him, but overall, he needs the tenacity.
It just synergizes so well because, like you said, he's going to be in the fight a little bit more now that they're at the base. It's going to be the rest of the team back and forth between this mid lane split push here. And this is where we see Zion really take hold. We'll be in the mid lane for a while, and then he'll just jump onto the fight out of the fog of war. Good hit onto Crepo. The calling comes out as well as they try to double up on that end.
They're
calling.
slow.
Nice ultimate, disengages once. Crepo couldn't use the tidal wave, but they will have it back, and Zion Spartan still being a threat.
Yeah, EG is kind of trapped into defending two spots here. Not what they want to do with the way their team is tooled. This is a very smart split push by Dignitas, as long as they execute it properly.
Almost getting the stun on, trying to get the last few auto attacks in. Very good, little bit of poke that they have. Just kind of a deterrent of chase. Doesn't really do too much damage, but it always gives EG something to think about. 7-2-1 Shifter trying to lead the team. Really on his back, has participated in 8 of the 10 kills on the map, with everybody else grabbing one for themselves. Zion doing what he can. 427 to 433. I don't even think the CS matters right now. It's what they're about to do when they get to the base.
This This is a very, very critical time for EG. They are worried about the super minions, and they're getting pressed on the other 2 inhibitors. But they got a bubble on Cutie Pie.
Looking for somewhat of a perfect engage. He throws down the Fisher. Gets a few Banshee's Veils off of that, but who can they throw back? Like we said, being such tanks, they throw somebody back into the fight, and we usually just see him walk out.
Yeah, and look at that.
Oh, God.
The super minions are destroying that thing. He's got to kill fast. He has no mana. He's trying to refresh himself, and meanwhile,
Whoa! Zion Spartan just hops over the wall. Counter-Strike almost in range, but Pole Bouncer has to flash directly into the fight again. He gets taken down by Shifter. That's a shutdown in gold for him, but I don't even think he's going to have time to spend it.
Not enough damage across the board for EG to ward off super minions and the Dignitas team. 53 minutes in, Dignitas cracks the turtle.
That's going to be the Nexus turrets going down as well. 90,000 gold is what Dig had to hit before they could break into the base. 13 to 12 in 54 minutes is what it took Dig to take down Evil Geniuses.
Big smiles all around on Dignitas right there. In large part because they came from behind in that game.
One of their troubles this year.
They have not been good when down in games. But a good start to Super Week right there.
No, do not congratulate us, Kiwi Kid says with the head shake.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
That's 2 teams now that are kind of disappointed with their wins today.
Yeah. It ends up happening. They're not going to be happy because it's a 53.5-minute game.
Right.
But they honestly should be. They're shaking their heads. Dignitas, this is why. Dignitas is a team that when things go well, they win very quickly. They don't like to be complimented either.
So charismatic.
Yeah. They clearly don't want to be complimented. But when things go well, they win very quickly. Where they've fallen and where they need to grow as a team is what happens when things do not go well.
Yeah.
And if it still means a victory, then they're trending in the right direction.
I don't know why he himself, Kiwi Kid, is covering his face. He has some crazy Braum plays, some alt stops. Those unbreakables, very nice. Coming in with the Glacial Fishers as well. We'll just go through all of the abilities because it was a great game. He played, like we said, he played his Annie style. He didn't flash over the wall that one time. But
a little bit more contained.
Too. So Shifter, still a god.
Yeah.
Only died twice that game, but came out huge again on Syndra. It just seems like if they know things are going to go wrong, let's help Shifter out. Get Shifter's lane going. Zion's going to get big. He'll still do his thing late game, as he did again.
Yeah.
I think he's only faltered one time, if we remember that mid push he had where he didn't really do any damage to the inhibitor turret as his team was getting taken down. Other than that, he hasn't made that mistake again.
And at the end of the day, Super Minions MVP, it kept Kog'Maw so occupied, burning all of his mana just to try and keep that Nexus turret alive. But in turn, probably needed to let it go down because they needed him on the other front.
That lack of control for the minion wave on EG was... I don't think I've ever seen that itself really be the reason the game turned for a team.
Yeah.
They were so involved in everything else in the game, they forgot one of the fundamentals.
It's the danger of playing against Zion Spartan's Jax. He always has the windows to attack.
Yeah.
And honestly, we're 50 minutes into the game by the time they let that minion wave get a little too far from one side. That happens once in the 50-minute game, and they end up losing their inhibitor.
Yeah.
So especially with the type of composition EG built, when you run a 2-threat comp and it gets that late into the game, you're really hamstrung as far as your overall utility. Yes, the Kog'Maw with those items, if they get the 5v5 team fights, are great. And we saw that during the Baron engagements. But Dignitas maneuvered very well there at the end.
Yeah, we'll have to see if EG can really stop things like that from happening. It is a super week. These games could easily be 50 minutes each time, and that's going to make everything harder. So got to get things sorted out now. Super week, especially halfway through the season, is the time you need to buckle down and get everything going. And then you, meaning all teams.
Yeah, every single team, especially when we consider the fact that the last 2 previous weeks of the LCS were the only LCS weeks ever where every team went 1-1.
Yeah.
So the level of parity that had been reached had never been higher. And Super Week is the time to break from that.
That's right. All right, to break down that battle, let's throw it over to the guys at the analyst desk.
Thanks, Riv. We're happy to have Zion Spartan from Victorious Dignitas joining us here at the desk. Pretty hard-fought win there, but I want to jump right into the beginning of the game where we saw a Gragas jungle come out. Tell me where you think that came from.
I honestly have no idea. I saw the Gragas pick, and I'm like, all right, that's probably a Gragas top. And then all of a sudden, it's a Renekton last pick. I'm like, oh, what just happened? Is that Gragas jungle? And we definitely didn't expect that one. But it kind of surprised us. But honestly, it felt like it didn't have that much impact in the game.
Yeah, you banned out Evelynn, and you also banned out Nunu, and then took Lee Sin first pick. What were you expecting from Helios?
We were probably just expecting the Elise pick because he's a great Elise. He likes to play that champion a lot. He puts a lot of pressure on the map. So we were surprised when he decided to go Gragas over Elise, which I think he's done really well on.
Yeah. All right, so seeing that Gragas jungle come in and then seeing the Renekton, did that change your guys' game plan at all going into the game?
We knew that if we had matched lanes that I would get really far behind, and I did. I got solo killed. That was really bad of me, and then I got dove again, so I was really far behind. We knew I'd get a little far behind, but not that far behind. That kind of threw a wrench in our plans, but we were able to pick it back up with my team got a lot of picks, and we just had really good vision control, and we were able to turn it around at all those Barons, and surprisingly, we somehow didn't throw at any of them, so that's another good point for us.
Yeah, and a lot of that pressure came from Shifter in the mid lane. Like, he was going up against Pobelter, who had a fantastic Rise game from start to finish, but then Shifter kind of just clicked on and started getting picks on Crepo and all across the map. And having the strength of your mid laner, what does that do for your team, just to open up the map and do what you do best?
I think Shifter does really well on champions where he can get picks on people because he's really good at abusing the vision and things like that. So I think when he gets picks like that, that just opens up a lot of the map for us. And yeah, he definitely did a lot of work that game, along with everyone else on our team. Crumbs, Cutie, and Kiwi just really stepping up that game for me. And we just won that game as a team solidly because I was behind, but we were still able to come back, and they had a strong late game, but we just played around that really well.
Yeah, absolutely. At one point even, we watched Crepo recall, sell his gold generation item just to pick up a Negatron cloak in order to negate some of that Syndra damage. So when you see something like that, does that allow you to then build a little bit differently and kind of play your own game as he's taking the weight off your shoulders?
Yeah, that kind of, in team fights, in terms of them building a lot of magic resist, that definitely helps the AD carry out the most because they have all those Negatrons, so Cutie Pie can just rip through them. It helps me a little bit because I'm Jax, but as you saw that game, I was mostly split pushing and flanking, so I wasn't really trying to do that much damage on the champions. It's all about my pressure on the map. So I think it definitely helped out our AD carry a lot. For me, it didn't matter so much.
Yeah, and we're going to bring up a Baron on your screen, but Dignitas is actually going to take this one. So walk me through. It's about 34 minutes into the game. How do you guys walk out with this one?
Okay, so this is the Baron where they went for Dragon, so I teleported over, we immediately went for it. The calls go on Helios, don't make sure he can't steal the Baron. We got it, we got the Baron, we didn't throw, and then we just back out because we got the Baron, we got everything we wanted, and that's another point for Dignitas.
Very clean.
Yeah, we're slowly going to take away the theme that Dignitas throws at Barons. We're going to start winning games at Baron, and that's what you saw right there.
I like it. Well, that is a good way to start. Now, that is the point in the game where you start pulling everything back together. The gold lead comes back into something that you can handle, and we start scaling into late game. Now, I want to touch on team fights in the late game as we saw EG building tons of tanky items, right? Banshee's Veils across the board, lots of health. How do team fights evolve when you get to that point, right? You see all this tankiness, positioning, targeting, burst potential. Where does it start?
Okay, so the later it goes on a team fight, one missed position from even a tank can lose you a fight. So they started building tanky because they didn't want to get one shot from Syndra, and that did alleviate a little bit of pressure for us from them having less damage. But in that team fight, what was most important was just knowing the range of their carries. You know, Ryze, every single fight you saw him flashing in to root Syndra because Ryze's range is so low that if you stay back and play around the fact that he has to flash in on a carry, it's really easy to win a team fight from that. And you saw us just abusing the long range of Syndra, abusing the range of the culling to start these fights, and that's what really allowed us to just play around the fact that they had stronger late game champions.
And now you guys are tied with CLG at the top for first. Are you guys watching the scoreboard very closely, and who are you looking out for?
Yeah, we were watching the scoreboards closely. I was a little sad that Complexity lost to CLG. I'm like, they're up 5K. They got this. They can't possibly. Oh, no.
The blue shell, come on.
Yeah, I was hoping they could pull that through. But yeah, we're definitely looking at the standings. It doesn't really matter that much because it's if we can win all our games, because eventually we're going to play CLG again. Haven't done so well against them in the LCS, but I think we'll have a better match next time. And yeah, I think it just really matters if we can just keep getting better and learning from our mistakes. So I hope we can just keep improving from that.
Final question. You got TSM tomorrow. What's the preparation look like going into that game, especially coming off of a win like this?
Well, Scar just gave us a stern talking, and he's like, if you guys lose, Reggie's going to be mod in my chat, so you guys better not make sure that happens. Better make sure that doesn't happen. So I'm really scared because when Scar is angry, nobody wants to be near him. He's a scary man, you know.
So we have another bet. Is that an official bet that I just heard of right there?
I don't know. Modding him in the chat, it's not as big as a bowl cut.
No, not
yeah,
quite.
It's not the same extent, but you know what? It's nice to have a little friendly rivalry going between us and TSM. Makes the games a little more interesting.
Exactly. A little bit more motivation as if you didn't need it. already. Well, thank you, Zion Spartan, for all of your insight. Coming up after the break, we'll be seeing what you have to say over on Twitter in a segment we call What You've Been Saying on Twitter. Then it's back onto the Rift for CLG versus Cloud9. Stay tuned.
Remember, friendship wins games. The power of love will prevail.
Position to fight.
Leo's pretty low.
Pull with a flash. Face to face. Almost hits it. Gets kicked back, but it does finalize the kill. He was able to throw down the Ignite to get that. Helios gets in, hit only a little bit of mana, and he flashes body slams to try and do what he can. EG going hard. Inox is going to fall down. Meanwhile, whoa! Zion Spartan just hops over the wall. Counter-Strike almost in range, but Pobelter has to flash directly into the fight again. He gets taken down by Shifter.